Welcome to the Ice Turner experience. It's something you can't define, but it's always a teachable moment. Speaking of teachable moments, did you know the fundamental theme for a man is what he decides to take full responsibility of? This is what makes him, a master unto himself. This makes him accountable unto himself. This is what also makes him noble unto himself by what he takes, accountability for and what he decides to be responsible for. Not just like Adam, majority of the males in today's society have missed their rites of passage, to manhood because of that. Keep that in mind. 90% of guys that come out of their mother are males, and only 10% actually become men. It's because of that. Inside every guy is a king and a fool. Which one lives, which one dies. Which one thrives, which one, doesn't. Now the reason why an unstable male doesn't understand what manhood is, and one of the main reasons why he fails to connect the dots, to exactly what, headship is all about. Essentially, that's what leadership is about. You first have to lead yourself, and lead yourself by what you decide to take responsibility for. See, it all takes, a man to hold himself accountable for all the things, set in place right in front of him. Because he generated that blessing, or he generated that misfortune by his ways of conduct of some sort. You know the saying, when you point one finger at somebody, you always got to have the three pointing back at you. Yeah. See, it takes a man to bear the fruit of his circumstances that he, toiled the ground within his mind, right? That he tended to. He's either going to tend to his foolishness, or he's going to tend to, spirit. Okay? Now, within that fruit of circumstance, right? Now, as things happen, right? The misfortune. Now, do you make excuses, or do you use it, those circumstances, that misfortune as a tool to develop, through the process to obtain wisdom and understanding? Now, you're either going to learn from, somebody else's experiences, or you're going to learn from your own experiences. But you have to learn. The difference between, a fool and a damn fool is repetition. Now, when you look at responsibility and position, and you see how they work together hand in hand. So by shunning one, you're actually shunning them both. See, masculinity is a way of life, and manhood is a position. You don't excel into one, plateau, just on, that merit. Just because you're able to shave now or able to buy booze. One requires accountability, The other requires responsibility, a way of life, and your position, power, and authority. There's a difference. Okay? So whatever, that way of life or position, is required. That is the fruit of your labor. Right? And that is also what is required for you to produce. The apples come from thorns and thistles. A tree is known by its fruit. A man is known by his actions. Okay? A man is known by who he is, what he says, and what he does, and what he stands on, as well as what he wavers from, right? See, only boys look for an excuse to blame something other than themselves. They blame their life circumstances. They blame their upbringing. They blame their parents instead of their life choices. Now, there are two different ways that you make it in this world. You make it in spite of your circumstances, in spite of your family conditions, or you make it because of them. Okay? They'll also blame females instead of their, preference, flavor of the week or the day. They blame everything else except for the lack of their character. And the reason behind this is their extreme fluctuations in their mood changes, mood swings, their distorted self-portrait, and their behavioral dysfunction that extend well beyond, day to day and moment to moment and minute to minute. Now, don't get me wrong, mood swings are a part of life. It's in us all. Man, woman, child. The difference is with a man, what makes a man is how he governs, those swings. Now I'm talking about this, what I mean by the fluctuation. You go from these different moods, right? These different sets of emotions, and nothing in your circumstances have triggered that. Nothing in your environment has triggered that. And you're just, going by the event of your emotions. This is an unstable man. This is what I'm talking about. And that emotional instability is due to what? Unchecked sadness, unchecked anxiety, and unchecked insecurities, ungoverned emotions. And within there's also a sense of neediness, within their interactions with others. And for the most part, it's well beyond unbearable, unreasonable. And that level of clinginess is very borderline personality disorder. That's why sometimes they have, a tendency to create, very frustrating situations and circumstances for themselves, as well as for the likes of others. Because they're trying to figure out what void they're missing. It's the, excessive neediness, excessive need for attention, excessive need for validation, excessive need for support. As I said before, men don't look for support. men look for expansion. Men are builders. They build and just expect the support to come when really don't even need it, because that's what usually happens. Also, with the unstable male, that's, living a very erotic, emotional driven life. He makes impulsive decisions, which is also a sure sign of mentally, an emotionally challenged areas, right? We'll just say that. Just be nice, because he feels that he is a slave to his emotions. So this drives and inspires and ignites him to make poor decisions, based on the events of how he feels instead of sound logic, which is due to being still and governing yourself with peace that surpasses all understanding. It's not so much who tricked you out your position, right? Because no one really tricks you out your position. You trick yourself out of position. Just like Eve in the garden, or really just like Adam in the garden, tricking yourself out of position and not getting in front of his emotions. Now, what does Eve represent? Ego, vanity, and emotions. Because he didn't get in front of it. The enemy took control of it and took him on a ride and left him in a fallen state. You can't blame your circumstances. You can't blame the people in your life. You can't blame the people that left your life. They left your life for that reason. And it's for good reason. What you should be blaming is yourself. And what you decide, what you actually didn't decide to take govern over. Your own mental and emotional framework. And govern that. Remember I said before, 99% of what's taking place is in your head. 1% is actually in reality. And the 1% in reality is really half of what you see and nothing what you hear.